Good morning, everyone. Good morning, members of the committee, members of the public. Welcome to House Labor, Health, and Social Services Committee. And to those of us joining us online, welcome as well. I'll call the meeting to order, and Mr. Caldwell, if you would call the roll.
Representative Clouston.
Here.
Representative Guggenmoss.
Here.
Representative Heft. Representative McCann. Here. Representative Ottman.
Here.
Representative Stivar. Representative Wasserberger. Representative Yen.
Here.
Chairman Rodriguez-Williams. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, for those of you joining us, we do have a few rules for the committee. And if you'd like to read them yourself, they're located out in front of the meeting room, but I'll skim through them really quick for those that are participating in the audience and online. Members of the committee and audience, we ask that you keep your cell phones on silent. Although it might seem an awkward formality, speakers will address the comments and questions to the chairman, not to individual committee members or to others in attendance. This helps us avoid personalities and comments of a personal nature. Comments will be directed to the issue under discussion by the committee. Distracting comments on unrelated side issues are out of order. Speakers will avoid personal criticism, ridicule, or name-calling directed at anyone else in attendance at the meeting. This includes comments of a personal nature directed at other speakers, audience members, or members of the committee. For audience members, we expect you will refrain from any behavior that disrupts the orderly conduct of the meeting. Specifically, the rules prohibit speaking out loud when another person is talking, carrying on loud and distracting side conversations, any shouting, clapping, or booing in response to a speaker's comment. Our guidelines are simple. We just ask that everyone conducts themselves in a civil and respectful manner at all times during the meeting. Okay, committee, we have two bills on the agenda this morning. The first one is Senate File 23, and then we'll hear Senate File 62. I'm going to put Senate File 23 on the table for consideration. The bill is titled Handicap Placards, Healthcare Providers Approval. This bill was sponsored by Joint Labor, Health, and Social Services Interim Committee, and Representative Clouston has served on that committee during the interim and has offered to present the bill on behalf of the Joint Committee. So please, Representative Clouston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee. I get to present 3 bills today, so welcome to it. So it'll be good. So this was an interim topic. It passed unanimously through our summer joint interim topics. Currently in Wyoming, only MDs, DOs, and advanced nurse practitioners can write for handicap placards. So what this bill does, it follows one of our goals of the committee, which was to increase access to care for our patients and try to decrease the administrative burden on some of our MDs. So a situation came up, podiatrist had done a surgery, person had left foot surgery. They wanted to head to Denver to have for graduations. The podiatrist could not write for the temporary handicap placard. Either could his PA or either could I as a physical therapist. So Friday afternoon, we had to run down an MD who was willing to fill out this form that I've provided to all of you to make this happen. So what this bill does, it extends the number of medical professionals that can write for these temporary and permanent handicap placards for your vehicle. So we've included physician assistant, physical therapist, occupational therapist, podiatrist, and optometrist. At first, I thought it was kind of funny. We've had 3 people say, why are we giving handicap driving placards to blind people, right? We're not giving to the blind people per se. They're not driving, but whoever they're with, they'll have them and they can park in the handicap. So the first time it came up, I thought it was kind of funny, but the questions came up several times. So we'll just clear that question up immediately. So to qualify, I've provided you guys with the list that we looked at. So inability to walk 200 feet without stopping to rest, need an assistive device, brace, cane, crutch, prosthetic device or assistive device that goes through some cardiac and pulmonary function problems, as well as the visual and hearing impairments. So that is really the bill. It's just expanding the number of medical professionals that can help these people that need these placards. So I'll stand for any questions and give you some more history if you need it.
Thank you, Representative Clouston. Questions from the committee? Representative McCann.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Clouston, I've been breaking the law because I've been signing these for 5 or 6 years and never had them come back, so. My main beef is with ourselves and the fact that we give too many of these out permanently. I don't know how many times you've walked in Walmart and see someone get out of the handicap park and bebop in there like nobody's business. So I'm fine with this, but we need to hold ourselves accountable. Temporary one, fine, but to get a permanent one for me, you gotta be pretty beat up. So I think just holding ourselves accountable for properly doing it. Just wanted to make that statement. Thanks.
Madam Chair.
Representative Clouston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, and thank you. I agree with you completely, Representative. Now, there is a $1,000 fine to any provider who gives these to somebody who's not qualified. So that is out there. And you are not the only physician assistant who's been writing for these, so, or podiatrist, right? Like, so this is kind of a cleanup because we've had a lot of medical professionals in those two areas writing for these, and they were not aware they couldn't.
Further questions from the committee? Concerns? I have one, Representative Clouston. So the word optometrist is used in here, but ophthalmologists are often the ones that do surgery. Any discussion in committee on that?
You know, we talked about ophthalmologists. We also talked.
Representative Clouston.
Oh, sorry, Madam Chair, yes. So we did talk about ophthalmologists. We also talked about audiologists. And then the committee just decided maybe it was getting to be a little bit too long and that these groups would kind of take care of it. So I think most of those patients, the conversation dealt with, most of these patients were seeing an optometrist as well as the ophthalmologist. Maybe it was just easier care, but that was discussed. I think if people wanted to add it, we could. This is the bill that the Senate passed, so we'd just have to go to that conference committee if that was this body's wish.
Okay, I just have one follow-up. To your knowledge, was there any discussion on this expansion happening in the past? Has there been a previous bill that has been attempted?
Madam Chair, not that I know of. You know, we've seen this, I think, in 37 states now have expanded the number of professionals that can write this. Again, just trying to increase care for patients.
Perfect. Further discussion or questions for the bill presenter? Okay, seeing none, thank you for presenting that on behalf of the interim. Are there any government agencies that would like to present? Please come forward. Good morning. Please state your name and who you're with and your thoughts on the bill.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Misty Zimmerman. I'm the program manager for Wyoming Department of Transportation Driver Services. We're the agency that's tasked in issuing these placards, both permanent and temporary. We worked through this bill with the interim committee and are comfortable with where the additions are. I think our ophthalmologist group will talk to the question that the chair had previously. Again, we're comfortable with where this at, and we see no issues with the additions here.
Thank you. Any questions for Department of Transportation? Okay, seeing none, thank you for joining us this morning. Any public testimony, registered lobbyists on Senate File 23? Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Carrie Klein, and I'm with the Wyoming Optometric Association. So I represent the optometrists in the state. And so I can clear up a couple of things. The first one, ophthalmologists are MDs, and so they are already covered as a physician under this existing statute. So we don't need to add them specifically because they are already listed as a physician. So optometrists were very pleased. Thanks the committee for recognizing that there are a lot of eye conditions that limit mobility. And yes, the question was asked, why are we writing a handicap placard for somebody who might not see well? And the answer is the placard goes with the patient, not necessarily the driver. So oftentimes there's somebody with limited mobility or a visual defect or disturbance that can affect their balance. Anyway, so that patient gets the placard and then they use it in the car for whoever is transporting them. So in support of the bill and want to thank you. Happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you. Committee, any questions for Mrs. Klein? Okay, seeing none, thank you for joining us. Further public comment? Do we have anybody online, Mr. Caldwell? Okay, all right. Seeing empty seats in front of us, I will close public comment. Committee, what is your pleasure on Senate File 23? Okay, bill's been moved by Vice Chair Ottman, second by Representative McCann. Discussion, amendments. Representative Heft.
Madam Chair, this bill to me that if it helps people get to and from their places, parking places, I like it. We, of course, run into situations where there's abuse, but I think as the public, we can call people out on that. Hey, there's people who need that space.
Thank you. Further discussion? Amendments? Seeing none, question being called by Representative Yen. Mr. Caldwell, if you call the roll on Senate File 23.
This is a roll call vote for Senate File 23. Representative Clauston,
Aye.
Representative Guggenmoss,
Aye.
Representative Heft, Representative McCann, Representative Ottman,
Aye.
Representative Stivar, Representative Wasserberger, Representative Yen,
Aye.
Chairman Rodriguez Williams. Madam Chairman, that is 7 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. Any volunteers that would like to carry Senate File 23 on the floor?
I'd be happy to.
Okay,
Or Darren, do you want to?
You're more
Okay.
finished.
sounds like a team effort.
Back me up.
All right.
Thank you.
Took me longer to get through it, I'm sure.
Thank you, gentlemen. We will move on to our next bill. We'll put Senate File 62 on the table for consideration. The bill is titled Restrooms in Publicly Funded Schools. And this bill is sponsored by Senator Larson. Good morning, Senator Larson. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Please walk us through your bill.
Good morning. Dan Larson here. Thank you. Thanks for hearing this bill. I think it's an important bill. Just a little history, I guess, up in my area, up in Powell, Park County School District Number 1. We kind of had a little issue with it. And it's concerning to quite a few of the folks there, especially the parents of young ladies that may have had an encounter where there was a male student that was in the bathroom, and that's not good. And it upsets all of us. It upsets the parents. There were girls that would just not even go to the restroom, you know, all day almost, or noon, and wait for their mom to come pick them up and take them somewhere or such. And so that's pretty much the main reason we brought it. We met with our school superintendent, and our school district would not make a policy on it because they were afraid of going to court. Obviously, they didn't have their lawyer saying that was a good idea. He said you'll probably go to court pretty fast. So this is a kind of a resembles a bill that was passed, I think it was in Oklahoma. I think that's where it was, if I have it right. And they passed it 2 years ago, and I think currently they're in court. I think it's the district court, 10th Circuit Court, I think. So we'll see what ruling they have. The lower courts favored in favor of the bill, and then it was pushed further. So our school said, well, if if that did pass, then they were feeling better that they would probably make a policy and go forward. But I think this helps. If the state would get behind this also and say, we don't want boys and girls bathroom and vice versa. So I'll go through the bill real quick.
Please, Senator Lark.
It's pretty, kind of quick, I guess. We did do some amendments on the Senate side. I'll try to speak to those. So first on page 2, we go to definitions. We have the definition of a coach. It's a person, including but not limited to coaches, assistant coaches, athletic trainers, and so on, or others contracted with the public school. You have multiple occupancy restroom or changing room. That means a room in a public school building designed or designated to be used by more than one person at the same time. You have the definition of school-sponsored athletic activity. Means a sporting event that is supported and affiliated with the school. You have the definition for sex. We take that from the Wyoming Statute 2125-101A, IV. And in that states, sex means the biological, physical condition of being male or female determined by an individual's genetics and anatomy at birth. So that's direct from our statutes. On page 3, we go to item B, to ensure privacy and safety, each public school district that serves students in pre-kindergarten through 12th grade in this state shall require every multiple occupancy room or changing room to be designated as follows. Little I is for the exclusive use of male sex, and little double I for the exclusive use of the female sex. Then we go on to C. Each public school district shall provide a reasonable accommodation to any person who does not wish to use a multiple occupancy restroom or changing room. For the purposes of this subsection, a reasonable accommodation shall include a single occupancy restroom or changing room. There was question on line 11. It states public school district, and LSO staff said that would include charter schools. So there was a question that maybe we should add charter, but I don't think we need to. So then we go on to D. This section shall not apply to persons entering a multiple occupancy restroom or changing room designated for use of the opposite sex when entering for at least one of the following reasons. So we state some reasons where you could go in the restroom for custodial and maintenance, repair, or inspection purposes. Double I, to render emergency medical assistance. Triple I, if a suitable meeting room or area is not available, a coach may enter a locker room before, during, or after a school-sponsored athletic activity provided. So we're trying to catch where coaches might have to go into the locker room. And they can do that if for these reasons. All students are present, are fully clothed. B, the coach may be accompanied by not less than one additional adult at all times. We did change that in the Senate to may, because there are some school districts that may not have, 2 coaches or such. So we put in there may on that. That might be something you want to discuss, but I'm good with may. On item C, if the coach is the opposite sex of the students present, the coach shall be accompanied by at least one adult of the same sex as the students present. We did have in there that they had to be employed by the school district, but we didn't think that was right either. So, and then D, we add and the adults present shall not be current high school students. So obviously we can't just say it's an 18-year-old. Then we go on to page 5. This is Item 4, the Senate added this, for an adult to render assistance to any student or person requiring assistance because of disability or age. So if you have a young child, then you have to go help them, or somebody with a disability. So we felt that was needed. And then we also added V, and this was added because there was a senator said that they have a co-ed hockey team, and so they were worried about that situation, and that's where they would meet in the locker room with both boys and girls, and so that was added. I can read it if you want. If a suitable meeting room or area is not available and the coach is the coach of a school-sponsored athletic activity with members of both the male and female sexes on the team or in an activity, the coach may enter the locker room before, during, and after, kind of with the same stipulations we had before. Then we go to item E. Each school district board of trustees shall adopt policies to provide for disciplinary action for persons who refuse to comply with this section. So we're requiring a policy to be written. And then on item F, no school district board of trustees shall adopt a policy contrary to the provisions of this section. So we want to make sure that they follow this. I did have in this area that if the school districts didn't follow what we were recommending, they could lose their accreditation. We did take that out of my original proposal. That was something the Senate wasn't gonna go for. I still think it's a good idea. I think we need a big penalty, but that's up to you to decide if you think you want it. And then we go to item G, a parent or legal guardian of a student, enrolled and physically attending public school district shall have cause of action if the school board doesn't do this, which they would have even if we stated that. My school district superintendent wasn't excited with having that in there, but it's obvious. And then we go to section 2, describing the duties of boards of trustees in statute 21-3-110. We added school board district shall ensure that each school district in the state requires every multiple occupancy restroom or changing room to be designated for the exclusive use of males of the male sex or the exclusive use of female sex. And that pretty much is the bill, except section 3, we have this effective immediately. And I think that's a good idea. Our school district up in my area is ready to propose a policy as soon as this becomes law. So I'm ready for questions.
Thank you, Senator Larson. Committee, any questions about the bill? The bill sponsor. Representative Yin.
Madam Chairman, thank you. Senator Larson, good to see you. The House passed a much broader bill by Representative Lawley, House Bill 72. Have you spoken to her about it? And is there an idea of which bill you would prefer to pass or how you'd like to align the two? Because I think if both passes, it doesn't really make any sense.
Senator Larson.
Madam Chairwoman, we did discuss it a little bit. I do know hers is broader. I'm not sure what amendments you added to it. So I don't know where to go, but I do want to make sure we have one that comes forward and we give our school districts a direction.
Further questions from the committee? Representative McCann.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Larson. Is there, maybe I missed it, but is there something in here as far as like visiting athletic teams? I mean, typically when, you go to a visiting team, the visiting team's in the girls' locker room. Is there something that we need to put in for that? I mean, I know we're getting in the weeds, but could represent a problem for the school district. He is some yahoo who wants to go to the letter of the law.
Senator Larson.
Madam Chairwoman, Representative McCain, I didn't even think of that, but that does happen quite often, and I don't know how we could word that to state that. I'd be open to some suggestions. Yeah, I don't know if you caught that on the other bill on Representative Lawley's or not, but.
If I could chime in, perhaps on page 4, line 6, Representative McCann, it states that if a suitable meeting room or area is not available, a coach may enter, and then it goes into some other situations. Yeah, we could, I guess, further discuss that to include teams if the committee so desires, and the sponsor. Further discussion? Questions? Representative Vian.
Madam Chairman, so on that same page, page 4, the amendment you guys made to line 12 from the shall to a may makes the sentence really awkward. So I was curious, right, so the coach may be accompanied by not less than one additional adult. Would it be better to just clean it up to the coach may be accompanied by adults at all time?
Senator Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I don't know how to make that sound better. I think we definitely want to make sure there was another adult, so I don't know. I don't know what to say there.
Further questions from the committee? Representative Gugamas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You discussed consequences for a school district board or trustees not following these guidelines. Are there any consequences if they were to not?
Senator.
Madam Chairwoman, Representative Guggenmoos, right? Guggenmoos, sorry, thank you. There is statute in there that Board of Trustees that we already have. It's 21-3-124. I don't know if very many know that. I didn't know it until I was told about it by our Department of Education. And it states failure to perform duty by officer or member of Board of Trustees. Any member of or officer of Board of Trustees of a school district who willfully fails, refuses, or neglects to perform any duty imposed upon them by the provisions of this code shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. So I think there's a little penalty if they don't do it. I didn't let everybody know that, but I'm glad to see that. So I think if it's in statute, they have to, or they maybe, go to county jail.
Further questions from the committee? I have one, Senator, just regarding on page 6, section G, the Senate removed, you mentioned the penalty of pulling accreditation, and now states that they shall have a cause of action against any public school for non-compliance. Curious if there was any other discussion on potential penalties other than cause of action and what the Senate already removed. Were there other ideas on the table?
No, Madam Chairman, there weren't other ideas, I don't think, that were proposed. They were reluctant to do that. There are lower degrees of an accreditation, and I thought maybe that might be valid. I can't remember what the wording was, but I could find that. But I worry that the bill might be jeopardized if we put too much penalties in there.
Thank you, Senator. Further questions? Representative Clouston.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator, for bringing this. As a former school board member, having this law, or the one that Representative Lawley brought, would have definitely given us some backing when we had a situation. So you also answered my question as far as the age and the disabilities. And then, so when we were on the board and we dealt with this issue, basically, if we didn't follow the state law, there could be civil action against us personally as board members. So there is that stick there. But again, just, so let me know if you think that covers it. But again, thank you for bringing this. I think this or Representative Lawley's go really well together and will help our state.
Senator?
Madam Chairwoman, thank you, thank you. I agree. This is vitally needed for our school boards. Give them a little support. If they did go to court, at least we have the backing of the state.
Additional questions for Senator Larson? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Are you going to stick around? Perfect, thank you. All right. Committee, we will open it up to public comment. Are there any government agencies that would like to testify? Seeing none, we'll move on to the members of the public. Anybody in the audience that would like to testify on Senate File 62? Seeing none, we will move on to registered lobbyists and members of the public on Zoom on Senate File 62. Mr. Caldwell. Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Peters. If you're there, please turn on your screen and unmute yourself. Good morning.
Good morning. I hope you guys can hear me okay.
Yep, we can hear you. Please state your name, who you're with, and your take on Senate File 62.
Yes, Madam Chair, representatives of the committee, my name is Carrie Peters and I live up in Powell. I'm just representing myself today. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. My daughter Taylor, a high school sophomore, testified in support of this bill when it came before the Senate Education Committee a few weeks ago. She is unable to speak to you today because she's out of the state on a trip. I debated whether or not to testify today because I've been very angry with our school district, and I didn't know if I'd be able to keep my emotions under control, but it's such an important issue. I felt I needed to say a few words, and I have a short statement to keep me on track. Wyoming needs this bill. This is a good bill that protects girls, boys, and transgender students. As it currently stands in my district with no policy, there's absolutely nothing in place to prevent any male from entering female spaces, and vice versa. My husband and I first reached out to our district on this issue nearly 3 years ago, and we begged them to be proactive in any way possible before we had a situation like we have now. We were given empty promises, and our concerns were largely dismissed. Fast forward to the start of this school year, and after months of complaints, the outcry from parents, female students, and community members became so great that our district was finally compelled to consider a resolution at a November board meeting. The resolution stated the district would not pursue their own policy, but they would lobby in support of state law on the subject. At that board meeting, a number of proactive ideas were suggested during parent testimony that could help alleviate problems while we awaited state law. Reasonable, no cost, and easy to implement ideas put forth at that meeting were ignored and dismissed. Long story short, without the state stepping in and saying, "Thou shalt," there will be no change, and the safety and comfort of girls and young women in Wyoming will continue to be ignored. This bill would make things uniform across the state, so the expectations are the same everywhere. I urge you to support this bill and specifically encourage you to keep some teeth in there. I believe that without stiff penalties, districts will simply ignore the law and look the other way. Thank you for your time, and I will stand for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Peters. Committee, any questions of Ms. Peters? Vice Chair Ottman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And Ms. Peters, thank you for deciding to testify today. I was just wondering if you could give me just a brief example of some of the things that you all came up with that would be easy or would be answers to this situation.
Ms. Peters.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Representative Ottman, yes, I have a couple. I'll share one, and then if you want me to share another one, I certainly will. But one of them was to have, I don't know, for lack of a better term, bathroom monitors. Basically, when those school restrooms, you enter and the restrooms take a turn, they have an L. And so basically it would be for like existing staff to take turns or whatever, sitting in the corners there where the entrances take a turn, and that way they could be seen from both the outside of the bathroom and the inside. And a group of parents really felt like that could help move the needle on safety in terms of some of the bullying that's happening in the bathroom, some of the congregating, and it would just help overall safety for everybody involved. And that idea was brought down.
Follow-up, Vice Chairman Ottman.
Madam Chairman, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Any further questions of Ms. Peters? Okay. Seeing none, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Please state your name and who you're with and your stance on the bill.
Yep, my name is Santi Murillo. I am the communications coordinator for Wyoming Equality. We are in opposition of this bill. I wanted to bring just some personal experience into this. So aside from my job, I'm also a coach in the Laramie County School District, and it gives me a deep understanding of the complexities faced by students, coaches, and school communities. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about this, and I recognize the concerns that this bill seeks to address, but I really want to highlight the unintended consequences that could arise if it's enacted. As written, this bill would require transgender individuals like me to use the restrooms that align with our sex at birth, which would mean that I, as a transgender woman, would have to share a restroom with teenage boys. At the school where I coach, there are around the athletic centers, the gyms, football stadiums, things like that. There are no single-use spaces. They're all multi-occupancy spaces. And so when I'm coaching a basketball tournament for hours and hours and hours, this would force me to use a restroom with teenage boys, which I don't think would make anybody comfortable, and it puts myself at risk. Especially, there's also, adult males in there where it's not always comfortable. I also want to point out that this bill undermines one of Wyoming's most cherished values, which is local control. Each school district is different. Each school district is going to deal with this differently. Not every school district has a transgender child in their school district. I think that Wyoming has a proud tradition of allowing school districts and communities to make decisions that best meet their unique needs. And by mandating this policy at a state level, we strip local school boards and communities of their autonomy to craft solutions that reflect the values and circumstances of their communities. This one-size-fits-all approach disregards the trust that we place in our local leaders to serve their students and families. I want to emphasize that transgender individuals have always lived and contributed to our communities, including as students, coaches, and athletes. We're not asking for special treatment or to undermine anyone's privacy or safety. What we're asking for is a compromise, one that recognizes our right to exist, feel safe, and continue serving our communities as we always have. The reality is that bills like this go beyond setting policies. They send a message that transgender people are unwelcome in Wyoming. This legislation doesn't just regulate spaces, it attempts to erase our identities and contributions. As a proud Wyomingite, I've dedicated my life to making the state a better place, and I want to continue to do so without fear of being singled out or excluded. And again, we're not asking for an extremist position or for policies without accommodations. We're simply asking for a solution that allows transgender individuals to exist authentically and safely in Wyoming schools and communities. I urge you to not only consider the human impact of this bill, but also the importance of preserving local control for Wyoming school districts and communities. Thank you, and I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Committee, any questions for Santi Murillo? Okay, seeing none, thank you for your testimony this morning and joining us.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Miss Johnson, if you're there, if you can turn on your camera and unmute yourself. Good morning, welcome.
Good morning.
Please state your name if you're representing an organization or yourself, and we'll hear your take on the bill.
So my name is Tina Johnson, and I'm with Moms for Liberty in Uintah County. Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee, I am speaking today in strong support of Senate File 62, Restrooms in Publicly Funded Schools. This bill takes a vital step to protect the privacy and safety and dignity of Wyoming students. Policies that allow students to access restrooms and locker rooms based on gender identity rather than sex at birth can seriously undermine other students' privacy and sense of security. Being forced to share vulnerable, intimate spaces with members of the opposite sex is a shocking violation of privacy that leaves many students feeling deeply uncomfortable, distressed, and exposed. No child should have to change clothes or attend to personal needs in a facility with someone of the opposite sex present. This bill takes sensible approach by requiring that multiple occupancy bathrooms and locker rooms be used by members of the same sex, while still providing accommodations for anyone who desires greater privacy. Opponents may argue that this is discriminatory, but I would contend that allowing males to enter female spaces and vice versa is what's truly unfair and unsafe. Everyone deserves to have their privacy and dignity respected, especially in intimate facilities. To give this bill real impact, I propose amending it to include a clear complaint and investigation process. If any student or parent reports feeling unsafe or having their privacy violated in a school restroom, or locker room, there should be a mechanism to report it, have the concern investigated, and if warranted, consequences for the school. Adding this layer of accountability will help ensure schools take the necessary steps to uphold safety, privacy, and safety. We all want what's best for students, for them to feel safe, respected, and comfortable in their learning environment. Restroom and locker room policies play an important role in creating a secure atmosphere. The bill, fortified with the provision for reporting and investigating any concerns, would help further this crucial aim. The well-being of our students should be a top priority. I urge you to support this bill to protect their privacy, dignity, safety in school facilities. Let's empower our kids and families to speak up if they ever feel those rights are being compromised. As a mom, I am the mother of 3 daughters, and they're all out of school now, but I would feel horrified. It is our job to protect this vulnerable population. It is our job to protect these kids. Thank you for your time, and I stand for questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Committee, any questions for Tina Johnson? Okay, seeing none, thank you for joining us this morning for your testimony.
Thank you so much.
All right. Anybody else online? Okay, that concludes online testimony. Committee, I will close public comment on Senate File 62. Committee, what is your pleasure? The bill has been moved by Representative Guggemos, second by Representative McCann. Discussion and amendments. Representative Guggemos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am also a firm believer that there should be consequences for individuals who would violate any kind of statute. It's kind of how I was raised. You know, if I broke the rules, I knew there was going to be severe consequences, which encouraged me to walk the line and not cross it. I just don't know what would be good if there is any kind of process to where if a school board would violate this, if there is any kind of process that could be initiated to recall those board members. I don't know if there's something that could be done in that line to where they would know they would be held accountable if they did.
Further discussion? Representative McCann.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would agree with that, but at this point, I think maybe leave it up to the local level, give them a chance to do the right thing. And then if they don't, then we come back and repeal something or come up with another idea. I'd like to give the locals a chance to do the right thing. Thank you.
Further discussion, Representative Yin.
Madam Chairman, I'm going to make an amendment on page 4 to strike lines 12 and 13. And if I have a second, I'll explain.
Okay, there's a motion by Representative Yin to amend on page 4, lines 12 and 13. Mr. Caldwell, you have that? Perfect. The amendment's been seconded by, or the motion's been seconded by Representative Clausen. Discussion on the amendment.
Madam Chairman.
Representative Yin.
The work by the Senate where they changed the shall to a may makes this whole clause meaningless. It really doesn't mean anything at all. The subsection C really, I think, accomplishes the intent of the Senate, which I believe is to make sure that if a female at birth coach enters the men's locker room, there's going to be a man with them and vice versa in the other locker room. I don't think the B doesn't do anything. So rather than have a B that doesn't do anything, I just would suggest we get rid of it.
Discussion on the amendment. Representative Clausen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And to the bringer of the amendment, do you think, I understand what you're saying, do you think having that in there hurts the bill? Or do you feel it's just not needed?
Representative Yin.
Madam Chairman, thank you. I don't think it hurts the bill. It's just language that literally doesn't do anything. It doesn't provide any real guidance. It doesn't hurt the bill. It doesn't help the bill. Just does nothing.
Follow-up, Representative Clausen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess the situation I'm looking at is, I employ some female athletic trainers. If they're in the locker room with the boys hockey team, we're gonna have a female coach, athletic trainer with a male coach. So I think leaving that in there maybe gives some cover to that. Because otherwise we're saying opposite sex student present coach shall be accompanied by at least one adult of the same sex as a student. So I understand what you're saying. I guess I don't know if it's needed or not needed. I'm not sure it hurts it, but maybe the intent from the bringer, however you'd want to handle that, Madam Chair.
Further discussion on the amendment. Representative Guggemos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My concern is if we cross out lines 12 and 13, it's opening up, because we're not, basically scenario, if it's a boys' locker room and we're dealing with a male coach, that these days, you never know. There may be whatever interest. It would be nice to have something in there that says somebody else needs to be accompanying that individual, just so there's nothing going on, if that makes sense.
Further discussion on the amendment. Okay, seeing no further discussion on the amendment to delete lines 12 and 13 on page 4, I would ask that you raise your hand and verbally state aye or no on the amendment. So all those in favor of Representative Yin's motion on page 4 to delete lines 12 and 13 signify it by saying aye.
Aye.
No? No. Okay, the motion has failed. Further amendments and discussion on the bill. Vice Chair Ottman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Because I thought I was in agreement with Representative Yin for a while, I thought if it just says may, you may or may not. But Then I thought, well, C covers it. If it's the opposite sex, then there shall be. But to have an adult, these days for insurance purposes and things like that at different places where I'm affiliated, we need to have 2 adults at all times with children. And so I would suggest or move that we put back the word shall on line 12.
Okay, there's a motion on the table to amend on page 4, line 12. The word may to shall. That was moved by Representative Ottman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Yin. Discussion on the amendment. Representative Yin.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I seconded it because it would at least make the clause do something, so I'm okay with that.
Discussion on the amendment. Representative Guggemos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe the reason they switched that was because not all schools have enough personnel, maybe to fulfill that. I don't know how big of a problem that would be my only concern with that.
I think that's.
Further discussion? Okay, seeing none, sensing the urge to vote on the amendment moved by Representative Ottman. Voice and a hand vote, please. All those in favor of Vice Chairman Ottman's amendment signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that amendment has passed. Mr. Caldwell, you have that one? Thank you. Further amendments from the committee or further discussion on the bill? Okay. Sensing the urge to vote, Mr. Caldwell, if you would call the roll.
This is a roll call vote for Senate File 62 as amended. Representative Clouston.
Aye.
Representative Guggenmoss.
Aye.
Representative Heft.
Aye.
Representative McCann.
Aye.
Representative Ottman.
Aye.
Representative Stivar. Excused. Representative Wasserberger. Representative Yen.
No.
Chairman Rodriguez Williams. Madam Chairman, that is 6 aye, 1 no, and 2 excused.
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. Thank you, committee. Senator Larson, if you have a House rep to carry your bill on the floor, please arrange that. Okay, thank you for joining us this morning. Committee, that is all we have on the agenda this morning, so we will adjourn early. Enjoy the hour before we convene on the floor.